Good morning, ladies, gents. I hope you're doing well. I sincerely hope you had a chance to get outside yesterday in that gorgeous weather we had. It was much needed. Some sunshine, some warmth. Good for the mental health. Okay, so we're coming up to the end of our fractions unit, surprisingly. This is the last lesson, and we'll do some review. So, this lesson appears on page 169 in your textbook, and we're dividing by powers of 10. Now, we're used to seeing powers of 10 as like 10, 100, 1000, but if we put the decimal the other way, instead of it being 10, we go backwards, 0.1, so 1/10, 100th, 1000th. These are all powers of 10 as well. And as you can see in the first note here, if we're dividing by 1/10, that would be this. That's the exact same as multiplying by 10, okay? And here's, just proof that it works. So 1.35 divided by 1/10, okay? So it'd be 1.35 divided by 1/10. Change that to a whole number by putting it over 1. Multiply the numerators. We get 13.5 over 1, which is just 13.5. So this divided by 1/10 ends up being the same as multiplying it by 10. Decimal goes right there. Okay? Dividing by 100th is the same as multiplying by 100. And we can use the same proof. So 1.35 divided by 0.01. Put them both over, put that over 1, flip that over, multiply, we get 135 over 1, or 135. Okay, so basically the idea, if you are dividing by powers of 10 that are less than 1, it's getting bigger by the number of decimal places underneath. So there's 2 decimal places here, so it got bigger by a factor of 100. If you go and you multiply by powers of 10 that are less than 1, it's going to be the same as dividing by 10. Or dividing by 100, or so on and so forth. So if you're multiplying, they get smaller by powers of 10. If you're dividing, they get larger by powers of 10. And that's only with the powers of 10 that are less than 1. Okay, so 1.35 times 0.1. So 1.35 divided by 10, 0.135. And same with this. If we multiply by 1 over 100, it gets smaller by a factor of 100. So decimals here goes once, twice to the left. Okay, so here's some examples. Yeah, I'll just have to scroll down later. Okay, so 0.275 divided by 0.2. So that's 2/10. So we're going to put that as a fraction. And a reminder, or just a little review of how to do that. We have 1 decimal place sitting here. So we can put anything that has 1 decimal place over a power of 10. Let's go over to part B with that same idea. It's 0.03. We have 2 decimal places, one here, one here. So we're then going to put that over 100. So 3 over 1, 2 decimal places, 2 zeros. Okay. Back to A. We'll put this as a fraction. So 0.275 over 1. And then dividing fractions, we take the reciprocal of the divisor, so we flip it, and then turn it into a multiplication question. So it's now 10 over 2. Multiplying by 10, that goes over there. So we have 2.75 divided by 2, and then 1.375. So that's 2.75 divided by 2. Okay. Over to B, 1.863. We talked about how to put this in a fraction. Take the reciprocal of this, so we flip it. So it's now 100 over 3. This gets multiplied by 100, so decimal goes once, twice, so 186.3. And then, sorry about that smart notebook software. So 186.3 over 3 gives us 62 over 1. Okay. And this was just division, 186.3 divided by 3. That's the end of the lesson. Okay. So you won't use this a ton in real life. Normally, especially with questions like A and B, you'd honestly be putting those through your calculator. But for stuff like this that we saw up top, you know, I've been encouraging you all year, if you get powers of 10, to just do it in your head. Well, now when you get numbers like this, decimal 1, decimal 01, decimal 001, you know you can do those in your head as well. And just remember that they do kind of the opposite because they're smaller than 1. So if you divide by one of these, it's getting bigger by a power of 10. If you multiply by one of these, it's getting smaller by a power of 10, by a power of 100, by a power of 1,000. Okay? So hopefully that's clear. If not, always you can drop me a line in Google Classroom. Mathify is there to give you a hand as well if you want instant help. But yeah, please reach out. Okay? Thanks.